Imagine learning that the person you've called your sister for your entire life is actually your mother. And the woman you thought was your mother, she's your grandmother. For Jack Nicholson, one of Hollywood's most celebrated actors, this wasn't the pitch for a new movie. It was his reality. The truth surfaced in 1974, just as Nicholson was riding a career high. Chinatown was about to hit theaters, and his reputation as a powerhouse performer was cementing in Hollywood. Then came a phone call that changed everything. Born in 1937 in Neptune, New Jersey, Nicholson grew up in what seemed like a traditional family. His mother, Ethel May, was a hairdresser with a strong personality. His sister June was vibrant, ambitious, and just 18 years older than him. In his mind, the roles were clear. Ethel May was mom. June was the big sister who went off to chase dreams. Except none of that was true. What he didn't know was that those family roles had been deliberately crafted. When June was just 18, she became pregnant by a married man named Don. In the late 1930s, an unmarried teenage mother risked scandal that could stain the entire family. To avoid that, Ethel May took on the role of Jack's mother, while June was presented as his older sister. It was a story they maintained for nearly 40 years. When Jack was 4, June left New Jersey for Miami, chasing a career as a showgirl. He stayed with Ethel May, growing up in the coastal rhythms of Neptune. By the time he was 17, he was ready for something bigger. He headed to Los Angeles to reunite with June, who had shifted her sights toward the entertainment industry. "I came out to look around," Nicholson would later say, noting that June was the only family he really had on the West Coast. His career began modestly, working as an office assistant in MGM's animation department. But Hollywood didn't take long to notice his charisma. Acting roles followed, and soon Nicholson was building the kind of resume that hinted at stardom. Then, as Chinatown was preparing to premiere, Time magazine decided to profile him. During their research, the reporters began uncovering unusual details about his family. Public records and conversations with locals suggested that June wasn't his sister at all. She was his mother. And Ethel May wasn't his mother. She was his grandmother. While preparing the profile, the magazine reached out to Nicholson to confirm what their research had uncovered. The call blindsided him. He had never even heard the possibility before. Needing the truth from someone he trusted, he picked up the phone and dialed his Aunt Lorraine's husband, Shorty. Shorty's first reaction was to deny it outright. But as the conversation went on, the denial gave way to admission. The family story Nicholson had believed since birth was an elaborate facade. By then, both June and Ethel May were gone. The two people who could have explained why the secret was built and why it lasted nearly 40 years were no longer there to answer. All Nicholson had was the truth, delivered too late for the questions it raised. It was the most personal plot twist imaginable, but Nicholson didn't spiral into bitterness. Instead, he described the discovery as dramatic rather than traumatic. "I was very impressed by their ability to keep the secret, if nothing else," he told Rolling Stone. He respected the lengths they had gone to in order to shield the family from judgment, even if it meant he lived most of his life not knowing the truth. There was another layer of irony. The revelation happened the same year Nicholson's Chinatown hit theaters, a film in which his character uncovers a dark family secret. The parallel was uncanny, as if real life had decided to mimic his on-screen role. Nicholson would later joke about it, referring to June as his sister mother, a phrase that blended truth and absurdity in equal measure. The humor was his way of taking ownership of a story he hadn't written. In the end, Nicholson's discovery didn't fracture his sense of self. If anything, it deepened his appreciation for the strange, often imperfect ways families protect their own. The secrecy may have been born of outdated societal pressures, but it was also rooted in love and an effort to give him the stability they believed he needed. And that's perhaps the most human part of this Hollywood tale. Behind the glamour, the fame, and the movie magic, there was a young man raised in a fiction crafted by the people closest to him. A fiction he only learned was fiction when he was nearly 40 years old. Well, would you want to know a truth like that if it had been hidden from you for decades? Or would you rather live with the version you'd always believed? For Jack Nicholson, the truth was stranger than any role he could play, and that's saying something. If you found this story fascinating, hit the like button, share it with someone who loves a good twist, and subscribe for more unbelievable true tales from behind the headlines and beyond the screen.